everyone, so in today's video I'm going to be showing you sort of my everyday glam routine if I am maybe going out somewhere, maybe I'm going for drinks, or even just like a night out type of makeup but it still looks nice and soft. It just sort of enhances your features. I did do this makeup look on my Instagram. I'm going to pop it here. Before we jump into the video, I'd like to say please go and follow me on my Instagram. Go follow your girl. It's here. I'll leave it down below as well. Really hope you guys enjoy watching and let's get straight into the video. So the first thing I think English, what is it? Who knows? The first thing I'm going to do is my eyebrows. So I'm first going to start off with the got2b. This is their water resistance spiking glue. So it's actually like a hair gel. But I like using this for my eyebrows. It's kind of like doing soap brows but with gel instead. I feel like it actually makes my eyebrow hairs stand up longer and a little bit better as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of that on the back of my hand and then I'm just going to take a spoolie. It really doesn't matter which spoolie you use. You don't need a lot of this product either. A little bit goes a really long way. Maybe I should zoom you in for this bit. Zoom you in. So I'm actually just going to start at the front of my eyebrow, just there, and then I lightly begin to brush this through the brows, and then lightly with my little finger I'm just going to start just sort of flatten the hairs and push them up at the same time. I feel like this helps actually hold the hairs up in place. And then what I like to do is just take like the end of the spoolie and then sort of use that to shape the brows, and then it just kind of gives them that like bushy effect but without them looking too crazy. I don't like using the soap. I used to love it but my friend Lauren actually taught me this trick and it's an actual game changer when you want to do soap brows. So after I've done that with the got2b gel, I'm then going to take a brow pencil. I'm going to take a brow pencil. This is the L'Oreal Paris Brow Artist Expert and mine is in the shade Brunette. So I'm going to take the brow pencil and then I'm just going to start to fill in any sparse areas. For me it would be the tail of the brow, just because I do like to make it a little bit longer, sort of elongate the brow and give it a little bit more shape and definition. And then I don't really do a lot to the front of the brow because I feel like it can look really like block-like and not that natural. So I do tend to just sort of leave that on its own. So I'm actually going to leave the brows alone for a little bit. I'm going to move on to the face. So I'm going to first prep the skin by using the Simple Replenishing Rich Moisturiser. This is really good to go underneath makeup because not only is it really hydrating but it's quite thin, so it absorbs into the skin pretty fast. So I'm just going to put this all over my face and neck and blend that in. Once the moisturiser's absorbed into the skin, I'm then going to move on to the Simple Radiance Booster. This has got SPF 30 in it and it's specifically for UVA-B and blue light and pollution protection. So the last step in your skincare routine should always be SPF, whether you're going out or not, in the morning, not at night, just because obviously there is a lot of pollution in the air and things like the sun have a big factor on your skin. So if you are sort of looking at your skin and there's like a lot of texture and it seems like really discoloured and you don't use SPF, I really would recommend using it and adding it into your skincare routine, just because again it really does protect your skin. And this one from Simple adds a really nice glow to your skin without making it feel like super oily or anything like that. Not going to jump into foundation straight away. I do want my skin to sort of like absorb both the moisturiser and the SPF, just because I feel like if you don't wait at least 5 minutes it can sort of like make the foundation look a little bit more oily than it actually is, and seeing as though I've already got really oily skin, I don't want to do that. So yeah, I'm just going to let that sit for about 5 minutes and then move on to foundation. I'm actually really quickly just going to put a little bit of Carmex on the lips. This is just going to help prep them for when we put our lipstick on. So for foundations, I've really been liking around 3. I do have 3 personal favourites at the moment. The one I've been using the most is the Revolution. The one I've been loving the most is the Revolution Conceal and Hydrate Foundation. This is a radiance foundation with hyaluronic acid, and it claims to be a medium to full coverage foundation, which I will agree on. However, it's too light for me and a little bit too on the pink side as well. However, the NARS one right here that I've been mixing in with it is actually more towards the obviously darker side. It is my fake tan shade, and it is more on the yellow side as well. So I find that mixing a hair of this in with this one works perfectly for my skin. Honestly, this one is amazing if you've got oily skin. It holds up throughout the day, and it also holds up when you're wearing a mask as well. Another one that I've been loving is the Maybelline Superstay 24-hour foundation. This claims to be medium to full coverage as well, which I will absolutely agree on. I just feel like for the purpose of this video, I am going to use this one just because I really like it. So I'm going to take around 2 pumps of that just on the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to start to dot this all over my face. What I'm first going to do is take this all-rounder brush from Beauty Bay. I'm just going to take whatever's on my chin and my jawline down here, and in small circular motions I'm just going to start to buff this along the jawline and down the neck, and this is just going to ensure that we don't miss any foundation that's sort of sitting around here, and it doesn't sort of like leave that nice line there. And then whatever's left over on the brush, I'm just going to lightly bring it down here, because I don't like it when too much foundation sits on your neck, but it does also have to be the same colour and properly blended in as well. And then before I blend out the foundation that's on my face, I'm going to take the Revolution Glycolic Acid Revitalising Essence Spray. This is really good if you're just wanting to give your skin like a little bit of an extra boost. And glycolic acid is usually found in skincare, so spraying this on your face, you do get the additional skincare boost as well. So I'm just going to spray this all over my face and then blend it out with my beauty blender. So just quickly speaking about beauty blenders, this is probably going to sound really weird, but obviously they do different coloured ones. Now I've tried probably all of them. The pink one, the original one, is good, especially when you're starting out. However, they're all the same price, do you know what I mean? So right now I'm using the black one, and I just feel like it has more bounce to it. So I feel like it's a little bit better for when you are blending things like your foundation and your concealer out. And again, just because they're all the same price, I feel like you should definitely delve into buying the black one. It is classed as the Pro Beauty Blender, and I can really see why. It just does like all the work for you. Like, you don't need to sit for ages and like blend your foundation and things like that. It really just do it all for you. So I'm just going to give you a... Why can't I speak today? Wow. So moving on to concealer, the one I've been loving is the e.l.f. 16-hour Camo Concealer. This one is in the shade Fair Warm, and I love this because it's just got such a like big applicator to it. It's full coverage, but it doesn't look cakey. So I'm just going to start to put this all over the high points of my face and everywhere that I want to highlight. I'm not going to do the big triangle underneath my eye or anything like that, because after watching Robbie Welsh, I feel like it's just a big waste of product. I'm just going to take that same spray that we were using earlier and then just spray it on the sponge, just to make sure that the sponge is still nice and damp and hydrated. And then I'm just going to use this to blend out the concealer. Once the concealer is on, I'm then going to move on to cream contouring. It's more like cream bronzing, just because this little foundation stick right here is very warm toned. So this is the Revolution Fast Base Stick Foundation, and this is in the shade F10. So what I like to do with this is take that same brush I was using earlier, the All Rounder from Beauty Bay, and I just like to take a little bit of product on the brush and then just start to stamp it where I want it, so just on the cheekbones here. And then I will take my sponge that I've just been using for the concealer and just go over the top of it as well. And then just put a little bit of that on the jawline, making sure to bring it down to the neck so it all matches. And then a little bit on the forehead as well. I just feel like it adds a really nice like bronzy glow. It's not anything that's too major or anything. And then I do like to take a little bit just on sort of like the edges of my chin here, just because I've got like a really straight chin and sometimes I like to make it a little bit more pointy. I have been really liking contouring my nose when I know how to do it. One way I've figured to do it, that doesn't make any sense, does it? One way I've learned to contour my nose is to just take like a little angle brush or a flat brush. It doesn't really matter which one it is as long as it's quite flat. And then I just take a little bit of that foundation stick and then start to draw 2 lines down the side of my nose. So the closer in the lines are on your nose, the smaller your nose will look. And then I will start to like blend out the edges slightly. So after I've sort of drawn the lines down the side of my nose, I will just take this same brush, I've just wiped it off, and I'll take a little bit of concealer, and then I'll sort of trace just down the centre of my nose like that. That's very wonky. And then I'll take my sponge and I'll just take the bottom part of it and I'll just start to press over everything that I've done on the nose. I feel like it's sort of like it adds warmth to the centre of the face as well as making the nose look a little bit on the slimmer side as well. So after I've contoured my nose and my face and all that good stuff, I'm then going to move straight onto powder. The powder that I'm using today is the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I've moved back onto this from the Beauty Bakery translucent powder. That one is still really good, but I feel like you get a lot more in this one. And it is a little bit more expensive, but it kind of works out at the same price just because again it is a little bit, you do get more in this one. So I'm going to take my sponge and I'm just going to start to blend out any creases that we might have underneath the eyes. And then also around the nose as well, because I've noticed that, see, just so I've got oily skin, foundation can sometimes congregate around there if I leave it for too long without powder. And then taking the Morphe Jaclyn Hill JH07 brush, I'm going to take a little bit of powder and then I'm going to really lightly just put that underneath the eyes, again using really light pressure. And then I'm going to bring that down the sides of my nose and just onto the apples of my cheeks as well. And then just with a duo fibre brush, I'm going to take a little bit more of that powder and just start to like lightly set the rest of my face where I put the cream contour. And the reason I'm using a duo fibre for this part is just because I don't want a lot of powder sitting on the like outer portions of my face, just because like when you're out in the sunlight you'll be able to pick up on it, whereas this I feel like helps distribute the powder evenly and it puts a really thin layer on as well. So for bronzer today I'm going to be taking the Charlotte Tilbury airbrush bronzer. So this one is in the shade medium and the brush that I'm going to be using is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill JH02 brush, just like a really big fluffy sort of tapered blending brush. So I'm trying to pick up a little bit of that and then I'm going to start from like the top of my ear and then go down instead of going across. I'm also going to push that into the skin as opposed to dragging, and that's just going to ensure that the product stays in this specific area. And then I am just going to take this up onto the forehead as well and then a little bit on the jawline. Whatever's left over on my brush, I'm just going to like sort of lightly tap that on the sides of my nose. Just realised I didn't use primer. I really wanted to show you the primer that I like as well. Why? So the blush that I'm going to be using today is the Beauty Crop blush and this is in the shade Orion Glow. I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not quite sure. It is a blush duo. And it does just look like that, and I'm just going to take this on a small little blush brush and sort of mix the two colours together. This blush is very pigmented, so you don't actually need a lot of product. So I'm going to place the blush more towards the back part of my face, like the outer portion. I'm not going to place it towards the centre just because I do already have quite a round face shape, and if I was to place it on the apples of my cheeks it would just round out my face a little bit more. And this blush has a really subtle sheen to it as well. And then whatever's left over, I'm just again going to take that over the bridge of my nose. And then if I feel like I've gone a little bit too overboard on the blush, which I feel like I have, I'm just going to take my sponge and then start to diffuse the product. So I'm going to move on to highlighting the face, but one thing I want to do first is spray my skin with the same spray that we was using earlier. And this is just going to make all the powders and everything melt into our skin, and then once we put the highlighter on top, it's just going to pop that little bit more. I'm also just going to spray my brush really quickly as well. The brush that I'm using is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill JH09. And then the highlighter that I'm going to be using today is the Becca Cosmetic highlighter in the shade Opal. Why can't I struggling to hold things? I'm just going to take a little bit of this on both sides of the brush, and then really start to focus this just on the high points of my cheeks. And then, as you can see, spraying the skin and the brush first helps it stand out that little bit more and makes it look a little bit more like sort of wet looking. Then I'm also going to put a little bit of that on the tip and the bridge of my nose. I do like to sort of pat it on my nose. Tiny little bit of that on the chin and the cupid's bow. And then just a little bit above the brow, but not too much, just because I don't want to look oily or anything like that. And then just going to take the same sponge that I've been using and lightly start to press over everywhere I've highlighted. So I've just zoomed you in so we can start with the eyes. So I'm going to take the P. Louise base in the shade 01, and I'm going to use this to carve out my eyebrows and use this as a base on my eyelids as well for the eyeshadow that we're going to put down. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that on the back of my hand. And the brush I'm using is the Morphe M167. It's just sort of like a flat concealer brush. I'm going to take that base and start to coat the brush with it. And then I'm just going to start to underline the brow. And then after I've underlined the brow, I'm literally just going to take whatever's left on the back of my hand and then just start to press this all over the lid. And then I'm going to take this little brush by Beauty Bay. This is the blurred lines brush. And then I'm just going to start to sort of stamp over the base that we've put down. And this is going to help blend it all out. So once I put the base down, I'm then going to dump into the eyeshadow. I'm going to jump into eyeshadow. This is the Steve Laurent Wild Thing eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to take a Morphe M441 and then dunk it right into this middle shade here. And I'm going to first start to pack this into the crease area. I've not set that base, just because the pigment of the eyeshadows will stand out a lot more if I don't set the base. So I'm just going to keep building up the intensity of this shade. And then I'm also going to start to run this on the lower lash line. I'm then going to take a Morphe M433 brush and just start to dip into this shade here, but also mix it with that first one that we were using. I'm using more of the edge of the brush as opposed to the tip of it. And I'm just going to start to slightly wing this out on the outer portion of my eye. So I'm going to start on the very outer corner and then start to wing it out slightly. And then I'm just going to go back into that same brush that we were using earlier, the blending brush. And I'm just going to use this to quickly diffuse any harsh edges we might have. And then I'm just going to pick up this winged liner brush from LA Splash. This is their defining brush. And I'm going to go back into these two shades just at the bottom here. And I'm going to start to create a wing. So what we've done here is going to be the transition for our wing. I'm just going to start on the outer corner, bringing it up towards the tail of the brow, and then I'm going to flip the brush around and then drag that wing on itself like that. And then I'm going to slightly start to fill that in with whatever is left over on the brush. And then I'm just going to take a Morphe M506, it's sort of like a blending type pencil brush. And with no extra product on this, I'm just going to start to smoke out that liner that we've done. I am just going to put a white eyeliner in my waterline. Today I'm using the Essence Long Lasting Eye Pencil, and this is in the shade Snow Queen. So I'm just going to put this in my waterline here. So putting a white eyeliner in your waterline is really going to help open the eyes up and make them look a little bit more doll-eyed. So I'm going to quickly curl my lashes and throw on some mascara, and then I will be right back. So my camera decided to die on me whilst I was putting some eyelashes on. In the photo I wasn't actually wearing any eyelashes, but for the purpose of today's video I decided to. So the ones that I'm wearing are actually the Eyelure number 177s, and all I've done is just cut them in half and then put them on the outer portions of my eyes. I'd highly recommend doing that if you're not used to putting eyelashes on, just because you can't feel them whatsoever. Because I know sometimes when I wear a full lash I feel like I can feel the band and the edges come off and it really irritates me. However, just doing this, it's really easy to just put them on and again you don't feel them, so I would highly recommend that tip. So what I'm going to do for my lips is, sometimes I like it when the lip line is a lot darker than say the actual lips themselves. I've lost my favourite lip pencil and it was by Tilbury as well, which I'm not happy about. So I'm actually going to use an eye pencil instead. This is the Efference Kohl eyeliner in 08 Teddy, and what I'm going to do is just very lightly line the edges of my lips and then start to diffuse that just with my finger. Another tip if you want in a darker lip line is to use a eyeshadow and then a sort of like liner brush. Just a brush that's really slim so you can get a good precision. So I know it looks really crazy at the moment, but trust the process. I'm just going to keep blending this lip line out. And then now I'm going to take a lip gloss. The one that I'm using today is the Fenty Fenty Gloss Bomb in the shade Fussy, and then I'm just going to apply that all over my lips. So that is everything. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on my Instagram. That is where I'm most active. I will leave it down below in the description box. Leave me ideas for videos because I'm struggling. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys!